Alright folks, after what feels like an eternity of waiting, Severance Season 2 is finally here. And if you thought Season 1 was a mind-bending trip into corporate horror and existential dread, well, buckle up. This season takes everything we loved, the eerie office vibes, the unsettling mystery, and the emotional gut punches, and dials it up big time. But does it live up to the hype, or does it lose itself in the maze of its own complexity? Let's dive in. Season 2 of Severance picks up where the first left off, with Mark, Helly, and Irving uncovering disturbing truths about Lumen and their own lives outside of work. As the walls between their innie and outie selves begin to blur, tensions rise, and new mysteries emerge. The season dives deeper into the consequences of the severance procedure, questioning not just identity but free will itself. The road to Severance Season 2 wasn't smooth. After the first season's massive success, Apple quickly renewed it, but things got complicated behind the scenes. Rumors of creative disagreements between Dan Erickson, the show's creator, and director Ben Stiller started surfacing. Reports claimed the writing process hit snags and the production was delayed multiple times. Then the Hollywood strikes happened, first the WGA, then SAG-AFTRA pushing things back even further. Ben Stiller, coming from a background in comedy before transitioning into prestige TV, was already a surprising name attached to such a dark cerebral show. But his success with Escape at Dannemora showed he had a knack for tense, slow-burn storytelling. Severance played perfectly into that style, combining eerie corporate horror with deeply human drama. The delays and behind-the-scenes tension made some fans worry about whether the second season could live up to the first. But with the series' mix of existential dread and psychological depth, expectations remained sky high. Despite the delays, Severance Season 2 finally entered production, but not without its share of complications. The creative tension between Dan Erickson and Ben Stiller reportedly led to script rewrites and extended pre-production. Then came the Hollywood strikes, which forced filming to pause for months. When production resumed, the cast and crew had to work under tight schedules, adding even more pressure. More of the core cast returned: Adam Scott as Mark, Brett Lower as Helly, John Turturro as Irving, and Patricia Arquette as the unsettling Harmony Cobell. Christopher Walken is also back as Bert, keeping the strange but touching romance between him and Irving alive. One of the biggest casting additions was Gwendolyn Christie from Game of Thrones and Sandman, adding a weird dynamic to the already strange goat phenomenon. Filming took place in New Jersey again, with the show's signature brutalist architecture making a return. The iconic sterile Lumen office remains intact, but new locations were introduced, showing the broader look into the company's reach. One of the most interesting behind-the-scenes stories involves the filming process itself. Stiller, known for being meticulous, pushed for an even more immersive approach this season. Some scenes were reportedly shot with extended takes and practical effects to keep the unsettling tone intact. The cast also had to balance their performances carefully, given the duality of their roles. Adam Scott has mentioned in interviews that switching between innie and outie versions of Mark is both fascinating and exhausting. The challenge of making two versions of the same character feel distinct yet connected is something the entire cast had to navigate, especially Season 2 blurs the line between those identities even further. With the delays and behind-the-scenes drama, there was concern about whether Severance Season 2 could maintain the eerie magic of the first season. However, the commitment of the cast and Stiller's precise direction made it seem like it was destined to deliver. Severance Season 2 dropped into an atmosphere of sky-high expectations, and so far, reactions have been intense. Critics have praised the show's ability to deepen its mystery without losing the sharp writing and unsettling tone that made Season 1 a hit. Many have highlighted Adam Scott's performance as even stronger this time, with his shifts between Mark's two selves becoming more nuanced and tragic. Some fans initially worried that the behind-the-scenes struggles might affect the final product, but early reviews suggest the show hasn't lost its edge. However, not everyone is on board. Some feel the slower pacing is more noticeable this season, and a few new plot threads have divided audiences. But overall, Severance continues to be one of the most talked about and dissected shows on television, proving its place as a modern sci-fi thriller classic. Now, while there are a number of legitimate criticisms to make regarding Severance Season 2, the reality of the situation is that it's still a very good show. The acting and technicals are all great, and the aesthetics are a huge selling point of the show. The plot and writing, on the other hand, is where things are starting to show cracks. With the video showing the show's Season 3 renewal immediately after Season 2, it makes you wonder whether or not they'll be able to stick the landing. All too often do shows go the route of a Lost or even a Game of Thrones the longer they go. I have a compatibilist view in that I understand things must evolve, and given the reality surrounding the production of these shows, I have some baked-in shareability and fluidity to my expectations. A show like Westworld, for instance, has an incredibly strong Season 1 and 2, but completely checks out from itself in Season 3. However, Season 3 in itself wasn't necessarily a bad story in itself, and the show eventually returned to form in the following season, albeit too late for many. As of right now, Severance is one of those shows where the first 2 seasons are great. Despite those criticisms and other aspects that boil down to personal taste, we could all forget them depending on Season 3, and Severance goes down as a generational show for many. Given the quality of Season 2, I remain cautiously optimistic, and think the show is well worth going out of your way not just to watch, but dissect and spend time analyzing. For the rest of the video there will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it and come back. Season 2 picks up months after the shocking Season 1 finale, with Mark reawakening on the severed floor to find everything has changed. His team is gone, Miss Casey's wellness room is dismantled, and Milchek now runs things with a disturbingly young deputy, Miss Wong. Lumen claims that Mark's Audi willingly returned, while the others refused, but Mark quickly realizes the situation is more complicated. This sets the tone for the season's biggest theme, control through misinformation. Lumen isn't just manipulating memories, it's weaponizing narratives. By portraying the macro data uprising as a misguided push for Severance reform, rather than an act of defiance, the company turns the innies into unwitting mascots of their own oppression. This manipulation forces the team to ask an urgent question: if Lumen can shape truth itself, how do you even fight back? As the season unfolds, each character is forced to confront painful truths about their dual lives. Mark's discovery that Miss Casey is actually his wife Gemma deepens Severance's existential horror. What does it mean to grieve someone you see every day? And worse, if Severance separates work and home life, how much of a person is really left when they're split in half? Ellie's arc amplifies this question even further. Learning that her Audi is Helena Aiken, the daughter of Lumen's CEO, makes her existence feel even more futile. She isn't just trapped, she was designed for this. Her struggle becomes an act of self-erasure, a desperate attempt to prove that her Annie is more than just a corporate construct. The season's middle stretch shifts from office-bound paranoia to something even more surreal, as the team is sent on a corporate team-building retreat that spirals into psychological warfare. This is where the show leans fully into its satirical critique of corporate culture. Under the guise of camaraderie, the retreat strips them of their remaining agency. The reveal of Helly's identity as Helena is a gut punch, as it suggests that Lumen doesn't just have her memories, it engineers people to serve a function. Meanwhile, Mark's attempts to reintegrate lead him down a dangerous path with Regabi, as the idea of undoing Severance turns from a scientific breakthrough into a moral and physical risk. The deeper Mark digs, the more Severance forces its characters, and audience, to question whether reintegration is even possible. After all, if Severance was built to be irreversible, then is healing just another corporate illusion? By the time the season barrels toward its explosive finale, the show has fully embraced its most terrifying idea. Identity is not just personal, it's programmable. As Mark, Kelly, and Irving attempt to expose Lumen from within, they realize that even their resistance is being anticipated and accounted for. Meanwhile, Gemma's desperate fight to escape the testing floor reveals the horrifying extent of Lumen's experiments. What if Severance isn't just about work and life, but about manufacturing entirely new versions of people? The season ends on a note of chaos, with Mark being caught between his Addie's love for Gemma and his Innie's duty to the team, while Lumen tightens its grip, ensuring that no one walks away unscathed. It's a harrowing, mind-bending conclusion that leaves us questioning whether true freedom is even possible, or if the fight against Lumen is just another severed illusion. The goat sacrifice scene is one of the most surreal and disturbing moments of the season, blending Severance's corporate satire with full-blown cult horror. Drummond, a man who has spent the entire season as a looming enforcer of Lumen's control, is suddenly revealed to be just another cog in a ritualistic machine he barely understands. The fact that Mark interrupts this moment and ends up accidentally killing Drummond in the process feels symbolic. Drummond isn't just a villain, he's a byproduct of Lumen's warped ideology. And the goat, that's where things get even weirder. The show has teased the significance of the goats before, but here they become a full-on religious totem, suggesting that Lumen isn't just a company, it's something more ancient, more insidious. The scene flips the power dynamics for a moment. Mark and Innie, an employee, someone who's been conditioned to obey, takes a life in his fight for freedom. But is it even a victory? Lumen's machine keeps turning, and the deeper the characters go, the more it feels like escape might not be an option at all. As we wind down the video, it's worth noting some of the cool Easter eggs and technical details that make Severance Season 2 a feast for fans. For instance, the locker numbers assigned to the characters Dylan, Irving, and Helly are a subtle nod to Lost, with the numbers 23, 4, and 6 drawing a connection to another show known for its cryptic mysteries. Also, the show's opening credits with their surreal animation of Mark navigating his own brain are packed with visual metaphors that highlight his internal struggles, particularly his conflicted feelings about Helly and Lumen. Additionally, the goats featured in the series became an odd yet symbolic presence, with Gwendolyn Christie revealing they were divas on set, adding a quirky behind-the-scenes detail to the show's unsettling atmosphere. These little touches, like the playful dialogue about door times, he referenced to creator Dan Erickson's past, enriched the show's deeply layered world, inviting fans to dig deeper into its world of symbolism and mystery. Overall, Severance Season 2 is a strong follow-up, with exceptional performances, especially from Adam Scott, whose portrayal of Mark's dual personalities continues to impress. The show's technical execution, from its haunting set design to the pervasive sense of unease, remains a highlight. That said, while the writing is still solid, there are moments where the plot's complexity risks becoming overwhelming, leaving me wondering if the show can maintain its impact in the long run. The deeper exploration of identity manipulation is intriguing, and I'm cautiously optimistic that Season 3 won't overcomplicate things. I'm invested, but I do have concerns about whether the series can keep its balance as it progresses. With all that being said, I'm curious what you guys have to say. How did you feel about Season 2 of Severance? Do you think it lived up to the hype of Season 1, or do you think it had too many issues? What do you think the future of the show will look like? Thanks for making it until the end of the video. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Here at Inner Spiral, we cover the games, movies, and shows we all love, so be sure to join us, and I'll see you next time in the Spiral.